in different ways, the economy is going to be affected. But this is why we are a government. That when we see things like this happening, we have to respond. Our response may not entirely neutralize the extent of the problem, but our response certainly will help in stabilizing the situation until we get out of the crisis. And so, as the Honorable Minister for Food and Agriculture said, we are seeking to raise about $500 million US, the equivalent of 8 billion Ghana cedis, to fund the crisis response program. This is so much money. But we are doing this also at a time when our buffers are almost depleted. We are entering the 8th month or the 9th month of our fiscal year. The budget has been implemented so far for about 8 to 9 months. And you should expect that most of us are not there any longer. So this is a difficulty, but we have to raise the funds. As a responsible government, as a sensitive government as we are, His Excellency the President has directed that we do everything within our power to find the money to fund the government response. So far, from the budget side, we have been able to secure up to $160 million. That's about 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. This is largely coming from the contingency fund, which our constitution established. And so we intend to trigger the processes for accessing the contingency fund. We are also doing what we call budgetary alignment to reallocate some funds that were originally meant for other purposes towards addressing the crisis. And so together, to reallocate some funds that were originally meant for other purposes towards addressing the crisis. And so together, 2.5 billion Ghana cedis being mobilized from the budget side. We also rely on our development partners, and we've had serious engagements with our development partners over the past 1 week or so. And within this short period, we can report that we are able to secure $155 million US. That is about 2.4 billion, almost 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. And so out of 5 billion Ghana cedis that we want to use, and use it quickly to respond to this crisis. It may be interesting to also note that the part coming from the development partners, mainly led by the World Bank, will be used for measures such as the cash transfers and also to support input supplies, whilst we are seeking to use funds from the budget to bring in more food, more grains, rice, maize, etc., poultry feed for the market, and also to provide food relief to farmers. I should mention also that even though we can have visibility on about $315 million, the balance of about $185 million, we believe we can mobilize them as well. We can mobilize this money. If we have been able to mobilize $315 million, we should be able to mobilize $185 million, because some of the development partners are supporting in kind. If you quantify them in monetary terms, we should be able to get some money from that source. Others are coming in smaller bits. Multilaterals, bilaterals, international development partners, they are all responding to support Ghana address this challenge, because they all have been part of our development journey. Our journey to move away from the crisis we experienced in 2022 in particular. They have been part of this journey. And these are not development partners who are going to sit back for the economy, the gains we have made, to be reversed. And so we are working closely with them to ensure that we respond and respond adequately. Now, some people may be interested in accountability, because usually during crisis, some resources may not be utilized properly or may not be accounted for. We have heard about this in crisis after crisis. We are committed to ensuring transparency and accountability in the management of these resources that we are mobilizing to respond to this crisis. And to do this, we've set up a technical task force comprising development partners and government agencies of Finance Ministry, of Ministry of Food and Agriculture, to ensure that this task force will identify, look at the data again, to identify where support is needed, and also to help in allocating and monitoring the distribution of these resources to ensure that the resources get to affected people. At the end of it all, we should be able to report on what these resources have been used for. And so I want to assure you, the people of Ghana, that this government is going to be transparent, we are going to be accountable, and this, we owe it as a duty to the people of Ghana to ensure that your resources and other resources we raise on your behalf are utilized for the purpose. So I thank you for your attention, and I'll take any question that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister for Finance. Sitting there watching both of you speak with so much empathy and thoughtfulness, that this too shall pass. I'm confident that you will do everything in your power to find the money, first of all, and also to ensure that they get the support. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I've seen some hands up already, but permit me to acknowledge our media partners picking the feed. Then we'll come to you for the questions. If you have any question, they'll bring the microphone to you. You show by hand, mention name and affiliation, and then proceed to ask your question. And please, let's not drag. Keep it brief so that we can take as many as we can. But if you join this press briefing from the comfort of your homes or offices, we are live on GTV, UTV, Joy News, Channel 1 TV, Net2 TV, ABC News GH, Sagani TV, Northern TV, Asase Radio, Oman FM, and streaming on Facebook at Ministry of Information, Mofa Ghana, Think Media, and Kofigo Media. Thank you. So, Mr. Atamensa, I saw your hand. And yes, okay. Okay, so we'll take the first four. I've seen 4 hands. So
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Atamensa from Ghana News Agency. The two ministers have painted a very bleak picture, and I'm so disappointed in the narration. Why am I disappointed? Because over the past 3 or 4 decades, environmental experts have predicted environmental challenges that will come because of the climate change. And so even in desert countries like United Arab Emirates, Israel, that are naturally located in desert areas, made provision to ensure food security. In Ghana, when the government took over, they came out with policies to ensure food security. One of them, 1 district, 1 warehouse. And over the period, they brief us about the food storage and all those things they are doing to ensure the
Remember, terms and conditions apply. Follow us on social media at abcnewsgh_.
The two ministers admit failure on your part to being proactive in averting the situation. That's my first question. The second question. Please let me finish my questions.
No. Please go ahead. I'll let you ask the question. Yes. But they did not admit failures on their part.
Whether they will admit failure.
You can ask your question
because
without
of the policies the government
saying what they haven't said.
So my second question. The Minister of Agriculture said they will ban export.
Because I thought that wasn't a fair ask. Yeah.
Yes.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, my second question. The minister said because of the dire situation we find ourselves, there will be a ban of export of grain outside Ghana. But rather, we will rely on ECOWAS grain reserve to help us cushion the nation. But we are in the same zone. Ghana, we are part of ECOWAS. And so if other countries have managed to secure their food, then it's an issue. If we are going to rely, while we are going to suppress exports, but we are going to rely on ECOWAS countries to support us. That is my problem. Regretting that Ghana is in the same zone as other West African countries.
Thank you for the question.
I have other 2 questions.
Oh, you've already asked 2. It is fair that you know that it's not fair. You need to allow your colleagues to also ask their questions.
Okay.
If there is room for other follow-up questions, why not? But let us give your colleagues the opportunity.
Honorable Minister, the other person said your case on Mechicano, Ama Akuafono. In the moment, team a do political season here. Politicians say Omochama or Monko for one. Quan Ben soon I'll be assured and say, and conquer party for one Marco Chabama Ghana Funina, and we are 1. And then number 2, a band is saying yes, here compare and Murphy a whole 1 in Chaya. Among 5 Ram share constant GMO by force, yen sign agreement be a concerning desperation here woman say GMO by share con yen Yamani Biana. A day assurance Obama say, and no, your election yen is adding about yen consign agreement be a GMO by share con.
Thank you. Okay, so you take the 3rd and the 4th at the back.
Thank you very much. My name is Cliff Ekufa, right for the Ghanaian Times. Minister, I would want to find out what the situation is like in the neighboring West African countries that have similar climatic conditions. Like beyond measures have you put in place to ensure that we don't politicize the crisis as has been spelled out by the Minister of Finance? Because this country, we are very quick to unduly politicize virtually everything. So I would want to find out, but for us to succeed, all of us will would have to come on board and collectively deal with the issues. So I want to know the measures you have put in place to ensure that you rally all Ghanaians behind the cause. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There is one hand at the back. Okay, Nana, please, I'll come to you.
Good evening. My name is Sako Kraba. I work with the EIB Networks, Kasapa FM. Minister, I want to find out from you, have you assessed the cost associated with the ban of these grains as a nation? And then my second question goes to the Finance Minister. With all these interventions outlined, will it have any impact or effect on countries' inflation, given the fact
solution or policies or programs are you going to put in place to avoid some of these things, because they will recur, because we are facing climate change in the sub-region and Africa for that matter, so that we may not come back here and then be asking for people to come and help us on asking for arms and that, so that we can be on our feet and face the problem head on. Now, Minister of Finance, you are talking of transparency. You know, most of it, when this thing happens, people overly politicize it. Are you going to include the opposition and the parties so that they also have what we call feely and see things that is happening? Otherwise, whatever you do, whether you involve the development partners or whatever, people will still make political capital out of it. So are you going to include the opposition so that they also see what is happening, and then, therefore, we limit the politicization of every process? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take the last question for this round. We'll go for the responses and then come back to you.
My name is James Savage. I work with Joy News. I'll start with the Agric Minister. His presentation has been largely on the drought. Meanwhile, we know that this is a twin disaster in the north. For instance, in the Upper East region and then the Northeast region, we have a flood resulting from the Agric Dam. But there's not been any mention on that. Is this package he talked about going to tackle the flood issue? If you would give us some update on that as well. Then to the Finance Minister, one key issue that's come up, we would want to ask if he would respond to that, is the issues about judgment debt to Trafigura. If he can give us some details on that.
Please, respectfully, we invited you here to talk about measures to address the drought. If we stick to that so that everyone else can follow the conversation. Please. Okay. Honorable Minister.
Okay, so I will start. And when I ask that we deserve some respect, please take it serious. When your ministers stand before you to give you report about happenings in the country, you can only help us to address and not to talk us down, because we are politicians. So please take note of that. I thought the issue about distribution of the resources was addressed in my remarks. I said that we've set up a technical task force comprising development partners and also government agencies. Please take it serious. When your ministers stand before you to give you report about happenings in the country, you can only help us to address and not to talk us down, because we are politicians. So please take note of that. I thought the issue about distribution of the resources was addressed in my remarks. I said that we set up a technical task force comprising development partners and also government agencies. And I don't think any development, the purpose for which they put in that money. Just as we have our governance systems, development partners also have governance systems. They do audits, they do monitoring, just as we do. And so to that extent, I do expect that we will understand the measures that we have already put in place to ensure that resources go to affected farmers. And secondly, I also said that the resources from the development partners will mainly go to the cash transfer relief, and also input supply support. And so I'm wondering whether the World Bank knows the political affiliation of the farmers that are affected, or whether USAID knows the political affiliation of the affected farmers. And so if the money from the development partners is to go to support the cash transfer, I'm wondering how that can be distributed to members of the political party. In any case, let us understand that the people who are affected are not affected by party colors. They are affected by drought. They have no food to eat. Hunger doesn't know political parties. And therefore, the farms that we visited, the minister and I, we visited farms of people whose political affiliation we didn't know. So I'm wondering why anybody will contemplate that this crisis, which is about food, is about hunger, is about survival, can be politicized. If anybody is interested in politicizing this, then that person really has not appreciated the extent of this problem. And you are media people. You are part of the governance arrangements of this country. And you will do well as well to get yourself involved when the distribution starts and report to the people of Ghana what you see. If there is any scheme to distribute these resources to members of one political party or another, or if party card would be the basis for identifying who benefits, media people have the right to report, as you have reported on many other issues in this country. I also answered the question on inflation in my remarks. Maybe my friend was late when I was talking about that. But really, I haven't seen the figures yet. The figures were produced by the Statistical Service, and we'll wait and see. But as an economist myself, I know that food inflation dominates our inflation. And therefore, when food prices are rising as a result of food shortage, the figures will show what the results will be. There are other factors that affect inflation, and so to the effect of food prices, you still will expect inflation to trend down. Otherwise, inflation will go up. So I hope you understand the context. Then before you then start to think about which is the best hospital to take the patient to for specialist attention. And so that is exactly what we are trying to do. I believe I've answered the questions that concerned me, and the Minister for Agric will take the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. This looks like very friendly questions. One district, one dam. When my officer appeared before the Public Accounts Committee, which is the director of JIDA, he did mention and has provided locations of all the 574 dams that have been built. Each of them with an irrigable area of about 15 hectares. So the dams are there. We are talking about a drought or a near drought condition, a dry spell. So when there is a dry spell, it means that there is no water. The dams are not rivers or streams or they are from river in this case. They are dugouts that holds rainwater, and therefore if there is no rain, the dams cannot function to support. But if there is rain, then it can store some water and at least extend the cropping life of the irrigable area that the dams are situated. Yes, indeed, we have built 80 warehouses, 1,000 metric tons each. They are all over the country, about 69 of them completed. The remainder, maybe in about the next couple of months, they will be completed. We are putting on an advert for private sector person to come and manage these warehouses. So they are there and they are not a failure. What it is that we need more warehouses. We consume 2.5 million metric tons of maize. We consume about 1.4 million metric tons of rice. Soya, sorghum, millet, close to about another million metric tons. What we have built is about 80,000 metric tons. So your grains that you consume per annum, you are looking at what? About 5 million metric tons. Your warehouse, the entire installed capacity of warehouses that we have in this country, both private sector for excluding cocoa, for grains, we are looking at about 250,000 metric tons. So it is not a failure of policy. What we need to do is for government to invest more money into the construction of grain reserves, and that is why we are building a 60,000 metric ton in one location in Huehue in the Kwao East District, such a silo to be able to hold the grain reserve. The ECOWAS grain reserve is a reserve that in part is also managed by a national buffer stock. These are grain reserves that we all contribute into. So it is not a grain reserve that is for example, our neighboring countries. It's for all of us. We were in this low as 145 Ghana cedis. We were in this country where farmers were complaining that because of the bumper, they can't even sell their maize because the prices have become that low. So the investment that we put in is working. So tapping from when you have a bumper harvest, you invest in this grain. It's not a failure. It is something that we have all contributed to. Kofi Tremantin asked a question of political season cash distribution. I think the finance minister has dealt with it. But of last year to August of this year, we have done probably in one season the single largest distribution of inputs in Ghana. Check the records. The sales have been done from last year August to this year August. Around the country, did you hear one comment from any corner of this country, any district, that program was politicized? No. You don't politicize food. They about inputs to 20,000 people in for the flood victims. Not a single person mentioned that it had been politicized. And the record is there to show that every single flood victim that was identified, not one person, when we gave the grant inputs for those who had registered on the GAP, Not a single person can accuse the Ministry of Government or its persons of politicizing the distribution of grant inputs. When we distributed inputs to vulnerable farmers to be identified by members of Parliament, we wrote a letter to Parliament and gave every member of Parliament to identify 100 vulnerable farmers that may have escaped us to go and receive these fertilizers. We didn't politicize it. We don't have the record of politicizing food in the last 12 months, and we will not start destroying that record now. A GMO distribution, you can be sure that we exist to protect the country's food systems, and we will not adulterate it with anything that is not required to be in a system. Why did we not plan for today? And are we the only ones facing this situation? Just a simple Google will tell you what is happening in the sub-region. Just this year, Côte d'Ivoire banned the export of grains. Nigeria has banned the export of grains. Burkina has banned the export of grains. Some countries may not disclose their actions at all. I mean, imagine that we come and stand here, we don't announce the ban of the export of grains, but then when you reach the ports, you can't take it out. We have to be transparent with the people of Ghana in the actions that we want to take, and that is exactly what we're doing. We never experienced, we had a bumper last year, and if not for this situation, up until now, we've not really had any challenges with food, even today, except for the north that we're expecting the early maturing crops that are suffering now. In the southern sector, we don't have a challenge with food. Everything that we're talking about is what can affect us from September, October, when we expect the northern grains to hit the market. If they don't hit the market, then we will have food challenges. And that is what we are working now to ensure that by end of September, October, there's enough food in the system to stabilize the situation. We have mentioned about the politicization of the crisis. That will not be the case. The country is assured that we are here to help our citizens. We don't have that record of politicizing our food systems, and we shall not start. The cost has been dealt with by the finance minister. There was a question on climate change. The question if we will include the opposition in the implementation of the program. Any Ghanaian willing and able to help. This is a major operation of food relief. It is a major operation on grant distribution of inputs. Any Ghanaian that wants to help, any conduit that wants to support, except the politicization or the tribalization, or however you want to call these things, that will not be allowed. But anybody that wants to help in this operation to make sure that we have provided relief to our Ghanaians who have been affected, we've opened our doors to do that. Finally, on the Bagri Dam, it depends on how the spillage is conducted by our neighboring country. When they have a huge challenge and they open the dam full throttle, then we have a major effect down south. But if it is regulated, then our rivers are able to contain it. But then the spillage in itself, we have a lot of dams that are able to absorb some of contain some of the water, mitigating the effect of the spillage. And that is a communication that has gone on between Ghana and our neighboring country, that we cannot stop them from spilling, but we can engage them on how they spill so that it doesn't affect the fellow humans that are down south. And that is the engagement that has gone on. So we are seeing, sometimes we engage them, but then the situation up there compels them to open full throttle, and then we suffer. We are monitoring the situation. We are working with our neighbors to ensure that effects on our farmers are minimized. Other than that, it will further compound the challenges that we are trying to deal with. Thank you.
I want to just add a little to what the minister said. He actually forgot to say it. He would have said it. But I have come to learn that MOFA has a database of farmers across the country. And the data was sourced from the farmers themselves. They have a system, an online system. People have to go and register. And that was the basis for the distribution of the inputs that the minister talked about from August till date. And so, if you're asking whether the opposition will be involved, what I plan to do as a member of parliament, right from this announcement, I'm going to my constituency to tell my people who have not registered, who are not on that data, the farmers who are not on that data, to go and register. And it's online. You don't need party card to register online. I'm going to do that. All you may need is your national ID card. And that was not issued on the basis of party affiliation. I'm going to do that. I will expect my colleagues, members of parliament on the opposition side, to equally go down their constituencies and sensitize their people so that they can get onto the data base to enable them receive the support. We are not going to go to the street and start distributing to people. The support is going to farmers. And I also want to talk about the cash transfer. The World Bank already supports LEAP, the LEAP program. And they have a $30 million facility they are injecting into the LEAP. The beneficiaries of LEAP are already known. There is a database on that. And so we are asking the World Bank to increase the amount usually given to LEAP beneficiaries, because some of them, in fact all of them, are very vulnerable. They are vulnerable people where there is food shortage and cost of living increases. It will affect them. Their conditions will get worse. We are asking the World Bank to increase how much money they deploy through LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. Again, the database is already there, and the database has been sourced over time. Again, not on the basis of party affiliation. And so, this country, we politicize everything. Every well-intended program, we politicize. I didn't expect questions on politicization here. So we are talking serious issues. It's about the livelihoods. And we are using systems to ensure that we are somehow scientific in our approach. Because I know that most people may not be on this database because they are not educated. And so what we need to do to help our people as members of parliament from the majority minority side is to go out there and sensitize our people and help them to register to be on this database so that they qualify to receive the benefits that the government will be distributing to them. And so I want to appeal to you, my brothers and sisters here, our media friends. If tomorrow you all put one advert or another, you know, encouraging people, you can seek information from MOFA staff here how to get online and register. If you could put one advert or another, you will certainly be contributing significantly to getting farmers, whether they are affected or not affected, they should register. Because the database, I see it, is not only for farmers in the affected areas. The database also has farmers from areas that are not affected. It's a national database. So I want to encourage you. Minister, you left that out. So I wanted to fill in that gap for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Since it has come up, to register, go to gap.com, GHAAP.com, and register as a farmer. You can self-serve, you can register yourself, but that is not the end of the process. So you cannot just, there's a grant coming, support coming for farmers, so let me sit in. But the district agric officer must go with you to your farm and take a polygon map of the farm. Okay, so the registration process, you provide all your details and your Ghana card, and you submit. It doesn't end there. Officer, we have a lot of extension officers. We have provided them with almost 3,000 tablets, Samsung A9 tablets, and about 300 laptops nationwide. The app is also on Google Play, gap.com. You can download it and go and map. You can even map the farm yourself. But that will not complete the process. An agric officer must go with you to your farm and validate that information if you did a self-service. Other than that, when you have provided the information, you go to the agric office, they go with you to your farm and take a polygon map. They walk with you around the farm and capture the size of your farm. That input must be given on the farm. Okay, if you give an input outside of the polygon of your farm, it will not capture as delivered. Unless it is, in this case, this crisis or the flood reliefs. It also allows for us to a farmer's farm once a month. Okay, once a week. You can sit in your office and send me a report here that this week, present. We don't want that. You have to take the tablet and be in the polygon zone. We will know that you have actually visited the farm. So it is a very, very comprehensive system. To register self-service, go to ghaap.com and register. And then the district office will follow up with you, go and take the map of your farm. If you are, in fact, for you to be part of this, receive a grant under this crisis, you will have to also attach an image of yourself standing in the polygon. So you cannot just register and go and take a football pack and submit to us. It won't work. Okay, just as the images are shown on the screen, you have to be, that image must be in the polygon of your farm before you can benefit from. So the level of security, transparency to protect the public purse is bar none, at least as we know it in the sub-region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will take the last round of questions. And then, yes. Okay, I've seen a lady's hand at the back. And then now take the two at the back. Okay, you have asked, so let me give them the opportunity first, and then I'll take the last round from it. Yes. So, 1, 2 at the back, and then we'll come to this.
Mine is not a question, but to add up to what Minister said. Okay. I am a district chief executive with the grant fertilizer. When I received mine, I actually wanted to know how many of my people are benefiting. And we had 620. And I can confidently stand here and tell you that not even up to 120 people are from my party. So just to add up to Minister that it is something that is open for everyone to register. So there's nothing like party colors attached to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I saw Echo's hand, and then, okay.
Okay, Honorable Minister, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Eko for Bloomberg. Honorable, pardon some of the comments my colleagues might have made, because there seems to be a fair amount of knowledge gap between what you do and what we know. I don't know whether you have a press call, but I haven't ever been invited to a new press conference by the Agric Ministry. So, and I know I can speak same for many of my colleagues. I'm super sure that all that you're doing may be great, but we do not know. So pardon our naivety and mine as well as I proceed. And yeah, it's a bit interesting that our brethren in the Sahelian areas have not implemented planting for food and jobs. However, they're able to send us tomatoes and onions and what have you. We all are rivers and water, we still can go through a process like this. And it's interesting to know that in such a time that we are having climate change, that is also when galamsey is on the rise in this country. And all our rivers are so polluted, we cannot even use to do irrigation. Besides, the crops do not really need rains per se. It's water they need for them to grow and get well. We have our front plains, what is happening, what is coming up of it. So when it happens like a country such blessed like Ghana go through such a crisis, then it begs a lot of us to ask a lot of questions. My other issues about cocoa. We started a discussion before you got here. You have decided that you are not going to do the syndication anymore, although that 2 billion annual average was supporting the economy and the currency. Honorable, what are you doing with cocoa, and why have you stopped the syndication? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There was another hand at the back. Okay, and then this gentleman, before I take the last questions from you. Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Edward Akwa from Republic Press. My question has to do with, just last week we heard about the Bagrin Dam spillage, and some farms have been submerged. At least we wanted a report on that issue as well, because most of these farms were affected in a way. So if any issue or if any information about that, please.
Thank you. There was a hand here, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Danilo Drumes. I work with CTFM and Channel 1 TV. My question is, how many farmers have been registered under the PFJ 2.0? And I also want to find out the issue about there's been the concern that the issue about the role of aggregators are being taken over by DCEs and all that. I wanted to find out from the ministry what it is doing to address that. And then also the purchase of the 20 workstations for the Ghana Meteorological Agency. How sustainable is this initiative by the ministry?
Thank you. So we'll take the last round. Follow-ups. Yes.
Yes. I want to clarify the question I asked. I'm not saying that you are going to give to B and leave A or do discrimination, but I'm saying that during COVID, the money that came into government, people were saying that the government used some of the money for other purposes. In fact, they were even asking for accountability. That is why I'm looking for the input of other political parties, so that they will be in the loan and see whatever happens. In a way, Mr. Agric Minister, there's a glut of tomato at Fishy, and you're saying they are putting up a 60,000 capacity warehouse. And I saw in the social media where they were lamenting about the low price of tomatoes. I know Fishy plants tomatoes, onions, pepper, mango. That's where I'm coming from. So I know the terrain very well. And what are you going to do, as it were, to address some of these gluts? Because the farmers are crying. When we are crying for shortage of food up north, they're also crying for a glut of food down south in Fishy.
Okay. Yeah. So you take Atamensa and then you take Clifford, or whoever you take first.
Yeah. So, Honorable Minister, given the porous nature of our borders, how are we going to enforce the ban of export? Do we have any policing mechanisms to ensure that people comply with the ban? Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Atamensa, once again, from GNA. Yes, I want to find out, during the COVID time, the ministry set up a farmers center at the ministry, where the ministry sells food directly to the citizens at a cheaper rate.
Okay.
And when there was food crisis, it doesn't affect only the crop farmers, it affects every household. Okay. So I want to find out if there's any plan of maybe setting up district centers where people can go there to buy food at a cheaper rate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Minister, you got that. He said during COVID and at a time that food prices went up, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture carted food to some centers so that people can get food, cheap food to buy. Are you considering that? Okay, so I take that to be the last question. I will invite the honorable ministers back for their responses and concluding remarks. Okay.
So I want to refer you to a press release by Cocoa Board, which indicated that they were not abandoning syndication. The syndication negotiations are ongoing, except that it will not raise the total amount required to purchase cocoa. The syndication, if you want further information, I can tell you that it is not bringing in more than 600 million US. For proposal was up to 1.5 billion US, and so it is not being abandoned. It is being pursued side by side with alternative ways of raising funds to buy cocoa. Thank you.
Thank you. You have dragged me to respond. Ordinarily, I came to observe and support my colleague. So good afternoon. So I want to assure you to the nation that the security agencies are immediately activating their network to ensure that the ban on cereals, which has been listed, are regularly enforced so that nobody will take even a single grain out. We have the approved routes and the unapproved routes. About 80% to 90% of all exports pass through the approved routes. And so I just want to assure you that already we have. The unapproved routes, we will also get all the security agencies to ensure that even the 20% does not leave our nation. It helps us as well because we have a big problem, which is the terrorist attacks all over across the other side. So if the ban is put in place, it's enabling us to deploy actively along the borders. It will help. But security is as good as the citizens themselves. So please take advantage of, if you see something, say something, and help the security agencies as well. You yourself are security people yourselves. So as long as you see something that has escaped the eagle eye of the security, please let us know. We'll act well. We are deploying all across the borders, particularly the northern part. We are also to the east and the south. And so we'll ask citizens to support the security agencies, that if for some reason there is some unapproved route or approved route, or somebody sees something that is going on that is not nice, please let us know so that we can act appropriately. It's for the good of all of us that we should not make our citizens suffer. If we have something that is unexpected and Parliament itself is even acting, then all of us have a role to play. It's not the fault of any government that rain has not come for the last 2 months. And so all of us as citizens must ensure that we work together. It happens. And so if we work together, it's natural disaster. We should be able to overcome. So we want to assure you that we will actively ensure that the plan government has put in place, or the decision government has put in place, we would enforce it to the latter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On the screen is a live dashboard of the gap, but this is the MOFA view. You will see that we have the total number of farmers registered is 556,688. And I'm sure in the next minute or so, when they click on it, you'll see that the number will change because more farmers are registering. And then also these 556,000 farmers have registered a total of 8,160,000 hectares of farmlands. So this is like, I mean, we can drill down to a farmer. You see the size of the farm. We are employing satellite data to be able to zoom into the farm and see the present called planet.com, so that we can have a view on everybody's farm. So when you scroll down you see where it says pending farmer registration. It means all those who have registered on the gap, but their farms have not been validated. The polygon map of the farms have not been taken. You will see that also there. So, and we have the graphs by farmers per region with the of registered farmers. We also have an inventory of all the stock of fertilizer that we have in the country. On the gap, we are able to track every single fertilizer in the country. So all the input suppliers that we have in the country, when you bring your fertilizer, you report to us and we help manage the inventory, because at any point in time, we need to know the stock of fertilizers or agro inputs that we have in the country. We have also the number of farmers per commodity. And you see that maize is the most cropped item of farmers in this country. We have it by gender, by household, whatever statistical rule that you want to derive from this. We're able to pull that information from you. Is that it from this side? You can. Okay, so great. So with this system also, we are able to tell from the beginning of the planting season what the output of grains is going to be at the end of the planting season, because we know the fertilizer that we have given you, we know the seed that we have given you, we know the yield of the seed, we know when you planted, we know when you will harvest and aggregate. We are able to put together, say that the northern sector, from the start of the planting season to the end of the planting season, this is the total number of grains that we have. And if we have excess capacity, we are able to invite our neighboring countries to officially apply through the government to get the excess grains from the buffer stock. That is the precision agriculture that we are talking about, to be able to ensure that agriculture is organized in a proper way. Our humble gentleman from GNA, Atamensa, I see that you took the counsel of the finance minister seriously, because your question now came with a very humbling tone. That is how life works. Yes, it's okay. At least you have been advised and you took it. I like people like that. Now, Ghanaians buying tomatoes from Burkina Faso is a challenge for all of us, because right across the border is massive tomato production backed by heavy investment in irrigation. We are trying to reverse the course to put in more investment in Tamni Tono, especially in the northern sector, to allow for tomato production in these areas. And to such a time, it's not a problem. But don't forget that they also buy a lot of grains from us. So now we are buying tomatoes from Burkina. Admittedly, we don't want it that way, but they are also buying a lot of tomatoes, grains from us. Probably almost 60-70% of the grains that they consume there is produced by us. They are buying a lot of soya from us. So that in itself, trading is not a bad thing. What the complaint is that we have the capacity to produce tomatoes. So why are we not leveraging on that? We are working on it. Okay, we are working on it, and we will get there. Now, we export a lot of yam in the whole world. We are the largest exporter of yam, not the largest producers. That is Nigeria, but nobody exports more yam than we do. But I don't think that the countries that are receiving our yams are going to go on demonstrations because they are getting yams from Ghana. All Ghanaians are saying is that we have the capacity to produce tomatoes. Let's get on with it. And that is exactly what we're doing. From Plains. You know, I'm from that part of town. You know, since I have been Agric minister, we have put 3 billion Ghana cedis in irrigation schemes in our farm plains alone. A chairman from Kunedu, Ataniata, Katonsu, all the way to such a farm plains. 3 billion Ghana cedis in irrigation infrastructure. And if I knew you were going to ask me questions outside of the crisis, I'm sure I would have brought you some pictures. But you can come to the office tomorrow, and I'll show you the investment that we are putting in the farm plains in the last 12 months. And that is the reason why we know that in 3-4 years, there's going to be a lot of grains coming from the schemes that we are building in our farm plains. And that is why we are putting up the 60,000 metric ton grain silo right around there. Okay, fortunately, it's in my constituency. I'm very, very happy about that. You know, that's why we are citing it there to be able to hold the strategic grain stock. So a lot is going on in our farm plains. We should feel the impact very soon. I did talk extensively about the Bagri Dam. So I don't want to go repeating myself. How sustainable is the equipment that we are giving to GMET? We have a program for called FSRP, Food Systems Resilience program, which program has a heavy concentration on climate issues. And locally, the organization that can provide localized weather information is our GMET. They are constrained, and therefore we approach them to get them the equipment that they need to provide us the synthesized data that we need. Because we cannot operate weather stations, automated weather stations. We can't operate them. The data that will come out of it, we will not even understand them in the way that it comes. But they can take the devices, synthesize it, and then give us the output that we are able to push to our farmers on the gap. If you are registered on the gap and you go to the farmer module, you see that there's a portion for weather information. And we are also now going to push to them on SMS and voice notes for those who cannot, who are not lettered, to be able to listen to, this is the start of the planting season, this is it. All the information is going to be pushed to our farmers now that we have the gap. There was also a question of DCEs taking over aggregator functions. That is not true, can never be true, will not happen, we will not accept it. What is happening is that we have 261 districts, but we have been able to confirm, validate, and employ 64 aggregators. So the districts that we don't have aggregators, we've asked the district directors of agriculture, not DCEs, district directors of agriculture, to hold place as aggregators, so that if you're a farmer in this area and you apply for input, we will channel the input to the district director of agriculture to be given to the farmer, not the district chief executive. I want to know one DCE who is acting as an aggregator in this country. Not one. And every political actor in this country belongs to a district, and they can confirm to you that it has never happened. 2, we sent grant fertilizers to 3 actors in this country. The first actor is the DCE, sort of the common fund system, that you are close to the people. There may be some vulnerable farmers who have not been captured on the gap. Go give them these fertilizers and capture them. We gave these 100 farmers to every DCE in this country, and it was documented. 2, we called members of parliament and issued an official letter to every member of parliament. I personally gave the copy of the minority to Atoforsim myself, and I can show you on your phone, and he acknowledged it. You take that letter to the assembly and you collect your grant fertilizer to give to vulnerable farmers that the member of parliament has identified. 275 of them. I got one too. You register the farmers on the gap. We also gave 15 farmers to the district director of agriculture. So we ensure that there's a fair playing field, no politics in the food business, at least in the food production business in this matter. So there's nowhere in this country that DCE are acting as aggregators. In the unlikely event that there is such, it has not come to our notice. None of my officers have reported same, but trust me, we'll deal with it very, very rapidly and aggressively so. The defense minister has taken the question on security. We have dams, 574 of them. I did mention that if there's no rain, you see, irrigation schemes are different from dams. On irrigation schemes, you are drawing the water from major rivers. Irrigation director, that's right. Let me try and use your good. Irrigation schemes, you are drawing the water from major water bodies into your dams. That is different from the community dams that we built that are harvesting rain. So if there is a dry spell, you don't expect the dams to function because there's no water. That is really what we are talking about. So know the difference. I had to educate myself, and I believe that with these words, you stand educated. Okay? If there is no water, the dams cannot survive. But if there's rain, we can harvest the water, and it will hold the water for a much longer time than allowing it to just run off. That is the difference between these dams and the irrigation schemes like we're trying to do in Afram Plains, in Tono, in Via, Tamni, Botanga, and now in Afram Plains. Will we employ food centers as we did under the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 1, where we brought in food from buffer areas to distribute to? We shall not do that. That is not what we seek to do. Most of the foods that we will bring in will be on the markets, except the ones that are going to go to the affected farmers. Even they will pick from the established vendors who have shops throughout the country. So we don't intend to set up special joints or shops or the likes to redistribute food. It's going to be a receipt system. If you have been identified on the gap, you pick your receipt, you go to the shop, you pick your assigned product, and really that is what it is. I hope I have successfully answered. Yes. You know, I mentioned that we are putting a silo for grains in Fifi. We are also putting in pack houses. We are putting, how many pack houses are we putting in Fifi? 2. We are putting 2 pack houses in the area. I mean, since in fact, it's my constituency. So the decision to put 2 park houses there was very, very easy to make. But as you know, it is a heavy tomato and onion producing area. We have a lot of post-harvest losses from that side, and we are putting in these park houses to ensure that we don't suffer these post-harvest losses. I hope I've been able to answer your questions, and with my colleague ministers. Me pese madam wase say moba betie asopam Ghana phone na atorenchem kese e na ato yakuafo ewo atifi mantem a free esrem eba bono eko oti yakuafo a ewo ho omo normal ye a woni dua ye eye free June ebesi August nini na ahye nobaya omudua ye no nsuo entimi ameguso ama eka kese na aba saa semi a aba beto akuafo yi enye omo pe na eba be ha omo eba be ha Ghanafo nyina ewo yedua ne semu ebise America kra ya ye kwakoduru akobro nyamu no nnuane a yedi eye ebro emo ne niema no dodo na efri eho ena eba ena asem kese we so ayeden aba bebom aban intimi ntena ho enhwe efise akuafo no wonu sika wonu di share adwumanim no sika no ayeden ahye mfasoa ewo so oninya no enya de ebeba aduane a esanka wonu eti wonu no ba ya woni bedi no so no eno so a abawo nti asem kese ya bei na wo se aban etu ho anamon makwa akohwe mene finance minister isika kura for akwakohwe omampani ankasa so nani akwakohwe den akwakohwe asem no enya asem papa nti nhihye ya aban eye no se free enne ede kono obia opese ode aduane a yaye wo Ghana ha etichiru ni ebro anade efenu grains ebro emo soya sorghum millet free oman no mu ekọ amanone no enya ade a yebepene no yepese ye make sure say aduane ewo krom ha etosumie no akuafo na woni no baye ahye a woni ntimi enya aduane enni no ekwan enam akwanya eda ho aban edi aduane so yeden eba bebre akuafo no say aduane a yedi bre akuafo no so no yedi bi beba krom ama aduane a anka ho ba be yeden no ho enya den saa niema we na ni ehwe anim se beba September eni eko October no nti ye nenne se ne be ya saa amre no du a onfa ohaw bia emre Ghanafo nsuo no asate eto efi na wo twetwa mu yi enekura me no kase nsuo to ewo esremu enti no ye ba be ma akuafo no ebro a woni betimi adua omom betumi adua emo no so ye de be ma omo de efre no early maturing seeds any akane bia eka ho eye fertilizer a woni behia de aboa se de be ya ye betimi enya aduane afri ho no so no aban de nam kwan so a yeba wonu a woni no baye no ahye kra woni sika woni dwetre so abowo mo no aban ede sika kakra 1000 Ghana cedis hectare ba kubia 1000 Ghana cedis se wa register ewo gap no so Ghana Agriculture Agribusiness Platform Ghana ni kua ni bia a oben oye kua a oben District Directors of Agric no onim sa ade we unim so a ko Agric impenifo ho ewo district na yemefa wo details ne yemfa wafuo no no omo de abefo mfidie besusu afuo ni nyina na wo meka edin a yewo eye akuafo ewo district no na yehwem na se onobae na hia aban ebepe sika kakra edi amount eno no yese 1000 Ghana cedis per hectare 2.5 acres bia no ye de beboa akuafo we ene enema bebre a aban edi ba abebeboa Ghana man se ne be ya atorenchemi ha yɛduane sɛm ɛwɔ Ghana nyinaa anaasɛ ɛnha akuafoɔ nankasa ɛwɔ wɔn abrabɔ mu yɛgu so a yɛtietie na sɛ ɛba sɛ wɔ sɛ yɛsesa mmoa no anaa yɛde bi ka ho a kwan biara so finance minister ababegyina ha ahyɛ yɛbɔ sɛ deɛ ɛwɔ sɛ wɔyɛ biara ɔmampanin sɛ ɔhwehwɛ saa mmoa no na ɔmfa mmoa akuafoɔ na ɔmfa mmoa Ghana aduane nsɛm nti yɛwɔ mu gyidie sɛ aban bɛyɛ biribiara de aboa yɛ ministryfoɔ a wɔwɔ Ghana ha nyinaa ne yɛ ministryfoɔ a ɛwɔ ha yɛaka a yɛntom abom sɛ atorɛnkyɛm no yɛmfa nyɛ amanyɔsɛm na yɛbɛ make sure sɛ obiara deɛ ɛwɔ sɛ obiara onye biara no obenya na amanyɔfoɔ ne amanyɔsɛm ntwɛm ho mfiri yɛduane sɛm mu na ɔmo a ɔmo hia mmoa no mmoa no nkɔ ɔmo hɔ yɛda Ghanafoɔ nyinaa ase.
Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our friends from the media, thank you so much for making time for this afternoon's press briefing. This brings us to the end of the program. Our profound gratitude to all our media partners, the press corps here at the Ministry of Information, all the TV and radio stations across the country that pick the feed live, particularly to GTV, Joy News, UTV, Channel 1 TV, Net2 TV, ABC News, GH, Sagani TV, Northern TV, Asasi Radio, Oman FM, and also our social media partners. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day.